On today's show, Batman was really going to die. Well, he's kind of dead now. Anyway, Deadpool 2 is coming back into theaters in a whole new way. And when we talk about that story, I'm going to be high as a kite by then. See? It worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
Welcome to Movie Talk.
It's a good song.
Yeah. See, here's the thing. Hi, everybody. This is Collider Movie Talk. That's John Rocha. That is Perri Nemiroff, who somebody on this panel is excited to get to the... Can we say it? Can we?
I guess so.
She's going to see Venom tonight.
I'm gonna tweet and Instagram about it soon enough. Yeah, I'm going.
You're gonna tweet? Oh, you're gonna tweet and Instagram
at the same time.
Yeah.
I do one like that and one with my mind.
I'm gonna go on Facebook and tweet and Instagram eventually. So I was worried about hitting the high note, and so I had to collect myself. That's the magic of Elton John, is that he can just go hi. I had to go hi. But
whatever
then you
works for you.
jumped in.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
You're
going to see Venom.
Oh, boy. John Rocha does voiceover for Transformers. We're all real proud of you. Whole lot of fun show to get to here today, kids. Lots of movie news stories that we are going to go through. So excited to be back on this Monday afternoon. And I do want to remind everybody, this Friday, I'm going to be at New York City at Comic-Con. Then I'm also going to be doing one show at the East Village location, New York Comedy Club. Got a lot of special guests. You can get tickets at markellislive.com. Going to do a Q&A after the set. Just added my buddy Dean Del Rey. He was just on Conan, and he did a sold-out theater, the LA Forum, opening for Bill Burr over the weekend. So it's not going to be quite that packed, but very excited about that. If you guys go to my Twitter, you see the pinned tweet there. If you retweet it, you're going to be in the running to win a copy of Death Race Beyond Anarchy. That's what we're giving away. Death Race Beyond Anarchy. So get ready. It's not just Death Race, and it's not just Anarchy. It's Beyond Anarchy. Now, speaking of sold-out theaters, I do want to give a shout-out to Mr. John Rocha, who sold out the Cine Lounge, the Arena Cine Lounge. Him and Matt Nost over the weekend. Top 10 show. How'd it go, buddy?
It went really great. If you all came out to see it, thank you so much for coming out. It was so much fun. Sold it all out. We even had overflow tickets because we had people coming up who want to see the added chairs on the sides. I don't know if it was fire marshal approved, but we did it anyway, and it was a lot of fun. Took a bunch of pictures, and people were very, very kind. Bought a bunch of the T-shirts that are only available for the live show. So thank you to everyone who came out. For those who did come out, not the people sitting at the table, but for everyone else who came out, thank you for supporting us.
I wish I had the news delivered to me in better fashion, Perri, because I don't know if I told you this.
Twitter, Instagram.
I was at the Comedy Store on Saturday night. Show was also sold out. And I texted Rocha, and I was like, hey, you want to grab a beer? And he writes, dude, sold out theater. And he sends me a picture, just rubbing it in my face. But I'm very proud of you. I'll go through your agent in the future to get on Collider Sports Talk.
That's such a you thing to do.
Because he knows. It's just ball busting between buddies.
Yeah, well.
He knows. He sells out shows all the time.
Hurt right in here.
Stop it.
Well, I think we're going to have a sold-out theater come 2020. If the news is to be believed that on Martin Luther King Jr. weekend of 2020, there's reports that Bad Boys 3 is going to open. Bad Boys for life, as a matter of fact. This is according to Variety. Sony Pictures is close to greenlighting it. Now, apparently, according to this, Will Smith is on board, and Martin Lawrence is not quite come to terms yet with the deal. Is that what the sticking point's going to be, Perri? Is this going to happen? Is Josh McCouga finally going to be satisfied?
This is one of those things that I file in that cabinet when I get an official studio announcement. That's when I'm going to believe it's going to happen. I don't care as much about this franchise as I know some of the guys in this office do, but I'm kind of rooting for it at this point for all of you. And after talking about it for so many years at this point, I kind of want to see it happen. But, when I read a report like this, because also I started to read the quotes in it, and at one point Variety says that we spoke to the studio at a previous time for a previous interview, and I'm like, oh, wait, so none of these quotes are new except for what you've heard. And, what you've heard at any given point in time can change in a second, depending on whether this script that they're liking right now really lands, depending on whether Martin Lawrence wants to sign on. I mean, I guess Will Smith is confirmed, but, he's a busy guy. His schedule changes often, so with every pushback, it puts that in jeopardy as well.
Will Smith doing that hella jump as he turned 50. Maybe he was inspired to get back into an action movie. Now, Rocha, you were a bad boy for life. Then recent events in your personal life have changed that into you're more of a cuddly teddy bear now. Now, what do you have to say about 2020's possible early release date of Bad Boys for Life?
It excites me. I love the date. That's a great time for it to come out, you know, obviously because Will Smith and Martin Lawrence are black, and this is like, it's rare to find these kinds of action movies led by two prominent black actors going like this. I'm so excited for it if it happens. What's the deal with Martin Lawrence and his term? What are the terms, Martin? What are the terms that you need to settle on that Will Smith somehow has found a way to settle on? I need to find out what that is, what's going on with that, because that should not. The Martin Lawrence should be the last person to be holding this up. He should be excited to be part of this again.
Push back.
No offense to Martin Lawrence, but he should jump onto this already.
Okay, look, we all know that Will Smith is one of the most famous movie stars in the world. Martin Lawrence is a great comic, had a great sitcom in the 90s. He's a known entity, not as popular as Will Smith. I think this is a 50-50 situation. Personally, I don't think you can have Bad Boys for Life without either one of these gentlemen.
You don't think you could have a Bad Boys and replace? Nope. Really?
No, sir.
Interesting.
And I'm not like the biggest fan.
Put Kevin Hart in there, same thing would happen.
Nope. I'm not the biggest fan of the Bad Boys. I like the Bad Boys movies, but I don't go around quoting it. I can't even conjure exactly what the plot lines are. They all run together for me, the previous two movies, which is fine. It's a fun action movie franchise, but I think that Martin Lawrence and Will Smith playing off each other is what sells the tickets. Not even the great Will Smith by himself, I think, is going to make a Bad Boys for Life. I don't think he should, and I don't think he will.
I don't disagree. The second one I didn't like as much, but the first one has fantastic chemistry, a lot of funny moments. Why do you get that? Because these are two guys who are comedians. They're two comedic actors, and they work really well together. So I get your point. I'm just, we haven't seen Martin in a while. We've seen Will consistently. So I just am a little perplexed at what terms he needs to come to.
We all remember what happened when you take just one actor from an original movie out of a franchise, right? You get Independence Day resurgence.
Okay.
You need both of them or none at all and call it a reboot.
See, I would have rather had Martin Lawrence play the role of Captain Stephen Hiller in Independence Day resurgence.
You know what? I might have liked it more had they done that.
Well, John Rocha invoked the name of Kevin Hart, so now we're going to talk about Mr. Hart and Tiffany Haddish. They co-starred in Night School, and over the weekend, that was the movie that crushed at the box office to the tune of $27 million domestically. On its heels, somewhat with Smallfoot, the release, the animated film. Channing Tatum does a voice in there about, who is it, Abominable Snowman, and they don't believe humans actually exist. They run into one. Seemed cute. Christian and his daughter saw it. She was my ticket. Congrats. I know you enjoyed it more than I probably would. The House with the Clock in its Walls, $12.6 million, not a bad second week holdover. A Simple Favor, $6.5 million, and you just can't get rid of that damn nun, $5.2 million. Rocha, that's the top five at the box office. What say you about Night School? You surprised? You think this is right on track with what your expectations were?
I was a little bit surprised at how high it went at $28 million. I didn't know if there was enough press. I didn't know if people had Kevin Hart fatigue, because the man is the hardest working man in the business. He does a lot of stuff, and Tiffany Haddish has suddenly popped up on a number of things. But you put this combination of Malcolm D. Lee with Tiffany Haddish, they had such success with Girls Trip, throwing Kevin Hart, who's really funny, and it's a really relatable story. A guy coming back to college, trying to figure out what to do with his life, things of that nature. So maybe a lot of people found something they could grab onto here. I'm even more surprised about Littlefoot getting $23 million, because I swear I didn't see much publicity for that. So to see it get 23 is really cool. But the number one thing for me is A Simple Favor. A Simple Favor keeps chugging along, doesn't lose that much from week to week. So enough people are still discovering this little small film from Paul Feig that didn't get a lot of press, a lot of buzz, and the fact that it's the little engine that could. I'm in awe of it, and I now am convinced to go see it. Where I was like, gonna let this thing go and I'll catch it on Netflix. Now I actually might go see this thing in the theaters.
And I would like to point out to all of the A Land Before Time fans out there, that Littlefoot, is not in Smallfoot. Smallfoot's the movie that came out this way. I can't believe no points on Schmoedown for you.
Tiny Toes.
If Littlefoot were in that movie, I'd probably have seen it.
There's like 90 The Land Before the Time movies.
The only one that matters is the first one, though. Did you ever go to Pizza Hut back in the day and get the Land Before Time toys?
Okay, those are two different questions. The answer to the first one is hell yes. Every week, That Was Family went on Tuesdays because they had the book it deal. So if you read a book that week, you just brought the book and you showed it to them. And one waiter at Pizza Hut, this is a true story, they would give you free pizza, like a free personal pan pizza. One waiter never believed me that I read the book, and so would ask me trivia questions. Maybe that's why.
So that waiter saw into the future.
Yeah, that was back when I knew how to read. So your Maniac McGee's of the world, your the Contenders of the world, read those just fine. Your read on Night School being number one.
So Night School actually came in a little under what I thought, because
really?
I kept looking at Kevin Hart's track record, and also Tiffany Haddish and Girls Trip. I thought thought it was going to come a little closer to 30, if not even go beyond it. But 28 still a solid start. We're talking about an A- on Cinema Score, so it could have a nice holdover, especially when the releases next week are Venom and A Star Is Born. I think it's probably good counter programming, even though I think both of those movies are going to absolutely crush it next weekend.
You think Venom is?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
Venom's going to make a good deal of money. To be completely honest, I don't think those reviews matter to a point.
Yeah.
I think there is interest in seeing Venom, and I think that is going to lead to a very big opening weekend.
Somebody might be owing somebody else a beer in New York City, depending
Really?
on how this Venom thing shakes up.
Oh,
I think it's going to underperform.
By how much, roughly? Give me at least a little bit of a
No
range
idea
here.
what the no idea what the analysis is right now. What the
Okay.
expectations are. I say there's no way that movie hits 30.
What?
Oh, whoa.
What?
I will take this bet.
Okay.
I will take this bet as long as there's no Coors Light involved and it's my beer of
Well,
choice.
if I win, you got to buy me a Coors Light.
Fine.
No, you know what? I'll do an IPA. Gosh darn
She
it.
should buy you a bucket, really. It's cheaper than the IPA.
I will
Yeah.
take this bet in a heartbeat.
All right.
Yeah, it's going to get closer to 50. There's no way.
I was going to go to 60.
Yeah. The
All right,
tracking
well.
has been good for it. Early tracking's been good for it.
Been driving around all day. It's one of the reasons why I'm not dressed up. I came right from the gym, did Collider Live, had to pop out, a bunch of meetings back. I'm not dressed up. I'm not my usual number self. There's a lot of things going on with my box office mind right now. And Venom, I don't believe in you. Sorry. Want to see the movie? No. And we're seeing it tomorrow.
Yeah,
are you seeing it?
Yeah,
Okay,
come
good.
on with. I want to take a day off from work and follow you around to these meetings you have in the afternoon. I want to know because you always say you have these meetings, and I don't believe you, Mark Ellis. So I want to follow you around and see what these meetings are. Just one day, I just want to follow you.
I don't think I've ever heard about you going to meetings. It's going to the gym.
No, he goes to the meetings all the time.
I go to the
goes to the
gym.
gym.
I have a lot of meetings, and they're in various parts of town. One was in Beverly Hills.
He's always driving
one was in
around these
Hollywood.
meetings.
And then I secured 2 special guests for the Los Angeles show. I'm doing it at Los Globos Theater, October 26th. Very excited about these ladies that are going to be booked on there because
Nice.
they are A+ comics, and I'm going to have trouble following it, but what's done is done. So let's move on to our next story before I further get ridiculed for thinking Venom's going to do under $30 million. Prove me wrong, Venom. The first Rocketman trailer was released. Rocketman, of course, is the Elton John movie starring Taron Egerton in the titular role of the Rocketman himself, a younger Elton John. This movie is directed by Dexter Fletcher, who also did the Eddie the Eagle movie starring Taron. Maybe they bonded on there. And he said, you would be a great Elton John. When I saw the picture that they released, the still, I was like, oh man, that's exactly like Elton John. Parts of this trailer remind me so much of a young Elton John seeing Taron. There's other parts of this trailer, and when he sings Rocketman, I was not there at the Troubadour in 1971, I want to say, when Elton premiered in the United States, and everybody went crazy over here, rightfully so. He's an amazing artist. Didn't sound as much like Elton John as I thought it might, to be perfectly honest. Now, that maybe is what Elton John actually sounded like back then, or maybe it's just they're getting as close as they can. It's not going to bug me in the movie. I'm still going to be excited to see it. And then there's also this very psychedelic angle that the trailer took, where I know Elton John had some crazy stage performances. I don't know that he was able to David Copperfield himself off a piano, but I like what this movie's doing. I'm intrigued, if not overwhelmed with joy. Perri?
Eddie the Eagle was one of my favorite movies of that year. It was firmly in my top 10. I really like Elton John. I was not looking forward to this movie much at all. It was fine that it was coming out. I was kind of just like okay about it. And then when I saw this image, I'm like, all right, nothing bad. It's fine. This trailer completely changed the game for me. The second that text came up that said based on a true fantasy, I'm like, oh, like I just melted away. And then you get all of those, the fantastical imagery. And it really got me, especially when you hear Rocketman kick in. It's just the combination of all that kind of stuff that, I mean, it does give you goosebumps. And I'm so curious to see a biopic that takes such a unique, creative spin on the story, too. It really does seem like something that is going to stand out.
I handle criticism very well, as both of you know. So, Rocha, you tell me, am I being crazy? Are you more in line with Perri, where he sounds enough like Elton John, where you buy everything you're hearing?
No, I don't actually. I don't like the fact that I don't like his voice. It doesn't match Elton John at all.
It is Taron singing.
It is
right?
Taron singing,
and
yes.
he sounds great.
Which you get with Val Kilmer doing Morrison. That's fantastic. That's
like,
pretty much the bar.
That was a match.
Yeah, exactly. And so can you get to that point? No, you can't. So if you can't, I don't know why you try, to be honest with you. Richie Valens Valens Lou Diamond Phillips did a voice match to the Los Lobos imitating Richie Valens. So to me, I think there's ways around that they could have done it, but maybe that was in his contract. I'm not going to do it unless I can sing and show what I can do. My problem with Taron Egerton is the reason people liked Elton John so much is because he was such a nerdy guy. And I get what Egerton did in Eddie the Eagle. He kind of conveyed that nerddom, but he's still a movie star underneath, at least in this film. And Eddie the Eagle was more believable, but seeing in this teaser trailer, it felt like he's still that movie star guy. And I don't feel that necessarily that vulnerability, that nerdy vulnerability that was the greatest thing about Elton in the 70s, 60s, 70s, all that stuff. But that being said, this looks fantastic. And pair this with the Queen biopic, Bohemian Rhapsody, that's happening. I am super excited to visit both of these films and these eras being portrayed in these films and just sit back and enjoy it. I mean, starting out with Benny and the Jets and then swinging into Rocketman, you had me. For a minute, you had me, and I was ready to go on this true musical fantasy or whatever they're calling it immediately. So
not a big fan of Benny and the Jets, the song, but I do.
Watch it
I think it was a great way to open the trailer.
Well,
and I have seen Elton John.
You need the Rocketman music cue too.
Yeah.
When that kicks in, it kind of ramps it up to another level.
Yeah, and you really start getting into it. And maybe Perry's right, where I just need to rectify the fact that this is not like the Queen biopic, which is going to be more of a straightforward telling. It looks like a great movie, but the Rocketman is going to take more chances as far as how it portrays events and even the way that it bends reality to fit what the setting was, what the time was. But you hear from anybody who was there, and the Troubadour shows that Elton John did in the early 70s out of here, it's kind of become Woodstock, where 300,000 people were at Woodstock and 300 million people claim they were at Woodstock. But I'm seeing people in the chat room that's saying that their parents saw Elton John at small clubs before. I believe him. Don't call our chat room liars. I mean, maybe some of them are fudging the truth a little bit.
I'm not saying they are. Their parents are.
Your parents. Your parents are liars. It's not how. That's it. When a man loves a. Don't listen to any of the things they tell you about the birds and the bees. Where did you see Elton John?
I did not see Elton John live, but I.
You were just coming at me because you think I never saw.
No,
Elton
you can
John.
go and yeah, exactly. Well, no, I said Benny and the Jets. You should see that live because you watch the live performances on YouTube or whatever of Elton doing it live in concert or in small venues, and you're just blown away at his ability to bring that song to life way better than the recording ever did. I wasn't a fan of Benny and the Jets myself, and then I saw the live performance. I went on Deep Hole. Sometimes you do on YouTube. Went into his Deep Hole, watching his live performances. It's amazing. The guy's so effing and talented and incredible to watch. It's my, and then his stories. But I met him once at
met Elton John?
I met Elton John randomly. My friend Jonathan Gabay took me to dinner in Beverly Hills one night for picking him up from the airport. He treated me to dinner, and Elton John was sitting there with 5 people. I walked past him. I stopped to turn around. I said, "I'm really, really sorry."
You were that guy.
I did. And he goes, "Sweetheart." And he held my hand. He said, "Don't you sweat it. I appreciate it," because I just told him how much his music meant so much to me growing up. It was really nice.
See, kids, pick your friends up at the airport. It might pay off down the road. Have you seen Mr. John perform?
I have not, but I've seen the Gin Blossoms perform.
Who's going to be playing the lead singer of the Gin Blossoms in the Gin Blossoms movie? We will wait to report on that until next week. I caught Elton around 1999 at the Virginia Beach Amphitheater. It was awesome. My favorite Elton John tune, Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting.
Yep.
God, it's a great song. That Davy Johnstone guitar riff still gives me chills to this very day. Well, we want to remind you guys that if you are going to be in Los Angeles on October 2nd, which would be tomorrow at 7:30 p.m., you could be in the running for free tickets to go see a screening and Q&A hosted by Collider's own Stephen Frosty Weintraub, the guy who started the whole thing. The movie's called I Still See You, and he's going to have an exclusive Q&A after the screening with stars Bella Thorne, Richard Harmon, Sarah Thompson, and the director Scott Spears. So if you're going to be in SoCal tomorrow night, you want to go. It's at the ArcLight in Sherman Oaks, not the Hollywood ArcLight, the famous one in Cinerama Dome. The Sherman Oaks, been there too. Had a couple IPAs, as a matter of fact. It's a great movie theater, and you're going to have a great time tomorrow night. If you want free tickets, all you have to do is email the Collider mailbox at gmail.com. In the subject line, write, "I want to see I Still See You" before it's in theaters. Have that exclamation point in there too, just so we know that you're for real. You need to include your name in the body of the email, and if you'd like to bring a guest, they're accepting emails until right about now. So make sure y'all check that out, and good luck to Frosty. He always crushes the Q&A, so have fun tomorrow night. In the meantime, we get on to a movie that was in theaters and did very well, and now it appears it's going to be back in theaters, but in a very different way than we would expect. Deadpool 2 is going to get a re-release in theaters, according to 20th Century Fox. It's releasing an untitled Deadpool movie, is what they're saying, in theaters on December 21st. No other details had been provided officially, but they did encourage everybody to guess away. So Deadpool being re-released. Ryan Reynolds released a photo of himself reading a bedtime story to Fred Savage. Now, of course, Fred Savage was a youngin' when Peter Falk read him the story of The Princess Bride. That's the famous bookend of that classic movie. So over the last few weeks, sources have indicated to Collider the new Deadpool movie is going to be PG-13. And then you combine that with a photo that maybe it's going to be a more family-friendly version of Deadpool. Will it be a more family-friendly version of Deadpool? And I heard Heidi, Frosty, and Frank on 95.5 this morning. They were debating about this too. One of them thought that this might be them trying to get Deadpool into the more Disney-friendly MCU, soften the language a little bit. One of them also thought that this might just be a fun tongue-in-cheek spoof, so where if you're going to drop an F-bomb instead, you say fudge, and the audience has a good laugh with it. That's the way I'm leaning. Rocha, you hear this news. How are you leaning?
I have to pull myself out of this conversation because I have a couple friends who know what this is, and they told me about it.
Ever since you sold that theater
They told me about it off, like I knew about this weeks ago, and I couldn't talk about it because he was like, "You work in that sphere. If it comes out,
you know what should happen? We should speculate, but the camera should sit on Rocha's face so we can figure it out.
It's true because my face is terrible at hiding shit.
Okay, so Adam, keep the camera on Rocha.
Yeah.
And now Perri and I are going to talk, and you just we'll try to read the poker face. So Perri, what's your read on why they're re-releasing this untitled Deadpool movie?
I can't look at the monitor. My read is definitely that this has absolutely nothing to do with bringing Deadpool into the MCU. There is no way that Marvel would get involved until that great opportunity for them to make a little more money, and who knows, maybe they'll even come up with something super creative to breathe an extra dose of life into this movie, as we've seen with them do with the marketing campaign time and time again. If anyone's smart enough to do something fun with Deadpool, it's probably Fox.
Keep that focus on. I kind of agree with Perri, but I will also say this to get the face out of John Rocha. This is totally a move for Fox to try to get Deadpool into the MCU, soften the language, make it PG-13, like all those other Avengers movies. I can't tell with his poker. You know what? He should have been an extra in Rounders because he's really good. I do tend to agree with Perri that I think that this is a move in order to get a little bit extra bucks and have some fun with the audience. It's a great marketing strategy because the folks at Deadpool and the folks at Fox likely don't know exactly what the future holds for them or whether they're going to be wedged into the MCU or even future X-Men movies for that matter. So this is a good way to have some fun, keep the character in the public consciousness, and come wreck some shop. I'd much rather see untitled PG-13 Deadpool movie than that hack Mary Poppins coming back to babysit. I'm sorry, she's still top 10.
I thought the trailer changed your mind.
I forgot about the trailer. It's a really good trailer.
This is just a good money move, period, because, if they're just going to switch it up a little and make it PG-13, they're essentially recycling something they already paid for, and then they take Alita off of that, basically what was essentially a doom and gloom release date where the thing was going to get buried. They give it a better chance at making money, and now they have two places to make more money.
Yeah, Fox doing a lot of release date juggling, moving Alita Battle Angel to February 14th, so now that's your Valentine's Day movie, and X-Men Dark Phoenix going back to the summer. So who really knows what happens, but Fox, they're really good at performing on the Venice Boardwalk, just doing this with flames, with swords, whatever you like juggling. That's happening, and it appears Deadpool has now landed in the Christmas spot. Well, speaking of movies that have come out recently, there's been some fan fervor back and forth. Zack Snyder apparently wanted to kill off Batman in a Justice League sequel because he's Zack Snyder, and that's the plan he had. He was doing a chat on Vero, which is, I guess, still a social media app. And this report comes via Cinema Blend. A fan asked if the story arc of Justice League 2 was going to end with a dead Batman, and Zack Snyder responded, of course. So the death could have been reminiscent of the comics. A lot of people are saying that this is like Final Crisis, where, yes, Batman died at the hands of Darkseid, but then Superman used some of his pull, and he was able to save Bruce Wayne, I believe. So Bruce Wayne still comes back to life, and we don't know what the future of Batman is. But Perri, you hear this, and you hear that Zack Snyder wanted to do something like this. This could just be Zack Snyder, now that he's not doing a Justice League sequel, saying, I could have done this or this or this. Or do you believe that this was really in the works, according to the director of Justice League?
I mean, really, when you pose the question that way, I can't help but to say, what does it matter? We're never going to see that elusive Justice League cut from Zack Snyder. He's not continuing on with the franchise. But, weighing the idea of whether or not not killing Batman could be an interesting choice for the DCEU or whatever we wind up calling it in the future. I mean, yeah, when I read a little bit about that line in the comics, I could kind of see some potential there, but it's hard to wrap your brain around something like that at this point when I didn't really like how they handled the Superman death. And at this point in time, I just don't see any value in having that happen to the character, because I don't think many of the movies have earned the stakes and kind of earned the right to actually do something like that and give me the feeling like it's really going to mean something. And if you do that to a character like Batman, you better have, the weight, the argument, the story progression to actually earn it. Otherwise, you're in even more hot water than you're already in.
Yeah. Well, the fun thing to think about, if you massage this story enough, is think, well, was this born out of a conversation that not just was in Zack Snyder's head, but was also Zack Snyder and Ben Affleck saying, hey, I'm in this thing. I'm going to give you my all in Justice League and Batman v Superman. If there's any way that I can not have to come back after the Justice League sequel, is there any validity to a crazy theory like that?
No, I think there is absolutely validity in that, because like things are set out once you sign a contract. This is where the story is going to go. This is what I'm going to do in it. Okay, great, guy, plan that out. Wait, you're replacing that director? Wait, we figured this out. Well, can you stick around? We'll figure it out as we go along. And you're kind of stuck because you signed that contract. How are you going to stay in this role? How are you going to gracefully leave this situation? So I wouldn't be surprised if Ben was caught between the rock and a hard place. Having worked for studios now, being a director versus being just an actor, there's more consideration you have to have in that kind of situation for both sides. So I wouldn't be surprised if he kind of got caught in the middle and is trying to negotiate this thing now, along with his divorce, along with his drinking stuff that he's trying to kind of come to terms with. All of that, you throw it in. So I would not be surprised. But that being said, this also, with what Snyder's talking, well, hey, Snyder, leave it alone already. Just stop responding to people, move on with your life, go direct another movie. This is too much already. It's been too many years now, so a couple of years or a year and a half since, and I just move on. You got to move on.
It's just a fun fan question, though. Yeah, I mean, it's not like he's making a bold declaration.
No, but he keeps responding to this so we can all talk about it. And the thing is, if he just didn't respond to anybody, then we wouldn't have to talk about it.
He doesn't necessarily do it with those intentions. It's just like, that's the nature of what we do and what fans love, is we'll grab onto any little word and, have some fun talking about it.
I agree. But him mentioning Apocalypse and Darkseid, this is very interesting to me, because the original thing with Justice League was that Darkseid was supposed to look through that boom tube, the hole in there, and see that, and see Superman down there, and that was going to lead into something else. So we would have had a stronger conversation between Darkseid and Superman in the sequel to Justice League. That excites me. And that makes me even more adamant that Snyder should have finished this cut. Better or worse, because I like his movies more often than not. So I would have liked to have seen what he could have done with Apocalypse and Darkseid and that world, and Superman visiting Apocalypse, especially the Man of Steel visiting Apocalypse. That would have been very interesting. So all this is great, but it just makes you be like, what we could have had.
Perri, if there's one thing I've learned on this show, it's never doubt John Rocha, the man who on Twitter, John Ashford, rightly points out that in the last 15 minutes, we've learned that he's met Elton John and knows higher ups at 20th Century Fox, and so he knows all the plans for Fox getting into the MCU. This guy is a special VIP now.
No.
And you can sell out any arena anytime. You just drop a hat. I got to be promoting my shows on Twitter for weeks. And you just, what are you, drinking a beer on the set now?
This is iced tea. It's iced tea.
Sure,
what does it say on that?
I don't know strength. It's the Hulk one from the Avengers.
That's kind of cool.
I don't know any higher ups at Fox. It was other people.
All right. He doesn't know any higher ups at Fox. Wink, wink. Cool. We're going to remind you guys at the end of the show. We're going to save
there was
some time
those contacts.
for your live Twitter questions. Go and start tweeting us right now. Use the hashtag Collider Movie Talk and tweet us at Collider Video. Before we get to that, one more quick story that we touched on Collider Live this morning. You guys probably saw over the weekend that Lucasfilm has extended Kathleen Kennedy's current contract to 3 years. So Kathleen Kennedy been in charge of Lucasfilm since George sold it to Disney. She was handpicked by George Lucas to be the successor. She's been a tremendous producer forever, made billions of dollars at the box office, including movies like The Force Awakens, Rogue One, The Last Jedi. The Solo movie didn't make quite as much as those other three, but it's a Star Wars movie, and she's going to keep making them at least for the next 3 years. So you talk about Kathleen Kennedy, a lot of people have very fervent opinions based on their take on The Last Jedi or what happened with Solo, or just the direction that it's going in general. Is it too many movies? Are we making the right movies? What are the right calls for Kathleen Kennedy to be making? A lot of hubbub about that. So John Rocha, you hear that she re-upped the deal 3 more years. Good move, bad move, safe move? What's your read?
I think it was the smart move for now. I don't think I know a lot of people. I'm hearing a lot. This is a very divisive issue. To me, this is not a man-woman issue. This is me looking at this objectively. This is an executive in a position of power. The last two films have split the fandom in a way, and the last film was received in an apathetic way by the fandom. That's not a positive thing. Does that mean she can't turn it around and make some strong decisions? Of course she can. So we'll see what happens here. But I think Disney looked around and was like, who else is sitting around there ready to take over this franchise that we trust? You know what? No one else. Let's go with Kathleen. She's got a great proven track record. Let's see what she can do. If she can turn this thing around, we'll see. And give her 3 years. They didn't extend it for 5 or 10. It's 3. Let's see what she can do, if she can make some adjustments. Because all these films have been fraught, except for Last Jedi, ironically enough, have been fraught with director changes, script changes, people coming in and ghost directing, people coming in and ghost writing stuff. So to me, I think this was the smart move by Disney for now. People get upset, but it'll calm down eventually. But I think everything hinges on the next film.
Yeah, Perri,
everything.
As a fan of Star Wars, I read into this that, like, The Last Jedi, as much as I loved it, I think that there obviously could have been more continuity fostered by Kathleen Kennedy between what J.J. Abrams had his vision for the trilogy and what Rian Johnson came in and did. That's easy to say. But I also think that this could be a deal where this isn't necessarily saying, hey, Kathleen Kennedy, we want you to keep making all the Star Wars movies you want. This could be the 3-year version of the end of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, where it's helping you ride off into the sunset in a way that says, I'm going to step down when I want to step down, as opposed to, we don't like the way the movies have been received recently, so we're going to fire you.
My knee-jerk reaction to what you just said is I find that very, very off-putting, and I hope that's not the case. I understand why some out there might not want her to have this position for another 3 years. I understand why some would want her to have this position for another 3 years. But as someone who is not part of the conversations at Lucasfilm and knows that every single producing position does 1,000,001 things that you are not aware of and deals with scenarios that you would never expect in different ways, there are other people there making decisions too that, yeah, even though she is at the top of the food chains, she might not be able to control every single thing. So as someone who does not know the specifics, I feel inclined to give her the benefit of the doubt and think they are keeping her there because they have good plans on the horizon. What they had to do at the beginning right now is they had to reestablish the foundation for Star Wars. They had to reestablish it for newcomers to the franchise in a way that will also bring back all of the people who have loved it since they first came out. And now they've done that. That part is done. Yes, sure, some missteps were made along the way. Now is the time to usher in the new phase. Learn from your mistakes, make better decisions, and start to improve it. And you know what? If you don't have that foundation and that experience, essentially you're starting from square one again. And I don't think that would have been the best move either.
Right. And this film coming out in December of next year, she has to shepherd this thing in. So it's smart to keep continuity here, finish this out, and see where we go. And too many people who don't know the inner machinations of these studios, Perri, you bring this up so well. Don't start walking around with signs and you have no concept of what goes on in these studios, in the inner workings, in these meetings, in the red tape, all of it. There's a lot that's involved here. So for you to look at it, make a black and white decision is ridiculous. These things have so many more people involved than you could possibly imagine.
Yeah, I mean, you have to go on the stuff that has gotten out of Lucasfilm, and most of the stuff that happens at Lucasfilm, even with some news leaks, and this person might feel that way, we don't know a lot of the stuff that goes on there. And you're right, for people protesting or boycott, you're not boycotting if you simply stay home and don't see a movie. That doesn't count as a boycott. You just did something else with your day, not a boycott. Okay, going to move on to live Twitter questions. We'll do one quick one, and then we will see Perri off to Venom tonight.
Hey-o.
Very excited about that. This one is news to me from Better Call Maul, and I just confirmed it. I went on Variety. I'm not sure if they broke it or not, but thoughts on the recently announced George Carlin biopic. It's going to be from the screenwriter who did Moneyball. Sam Turbin, I believe, is his name. So they're going to do a biopic on George Carlin. That's all that I have to go on. Maybe we'll talk about it more in depth tomorrow. What do you think about that? And what other comedian would you like to see a biopic on their life?
You're tapping into my movie talk lineup for tomorrow, aren't you? You didn't get that from Variety. You got that from my computer.
I got this from John Rocha.
I actually got it from Jeff.
Knows higher-ups at every studio.
That's right.
I got it from Jeff, so.
Snyder!
Yeah, I'm into it. I haven't really read into it. Really, all I did was kind of flag it and put it on the lineup for tomorrow. So I've got a little bit of reading to do. And I'm not as well-versed in comedians as you guys are. So I will defer to you, Ellis.
Yeah, I mean, I would obviously say Pryor's the one that I most want to see a biopic on, just because of what his act was when he was performing on talk shows in the late 60s. And then he went underground for a while, went up to San Francisco, started doing clubs there with no fanfare, no nothing, working working on a new version of himself, being raw, being honest. And then what emerged from that is the Richard Pryor that we all know and love and still worship to this day. George Carlin, similar route, but not quite as dramatic, because George Carlin was a cleaner comic when he was doing like the weatherman, the hippy dippy weatherman, and all those kind of things. And then he slowly kept getting a little dirtier, a little more raw, a little more honest, and evolved into the George Carlin that we all know and love to this day.
Yeah.
So Richard Pryor's the one, but I am all on board for a George Carlin biopic. How about you, Rocha?
Me too. I think when you say Moneyball screenwriter, that excites me. That means it's going to be a good script. So that I'm on board with that. I would love, if I can't do Richard Pryor, which I thoroughly agree with, I would go into the Robin Williams camp. I think to see our own Jamie Costa maybe could step up to the plate.
We know a guy.
I know a guy. But that would be fun because of what he went through and his own battles with substance abuse, the death of John Belushi, how that changed his comedy, Mork and Mindy, transitioning into being a comedic actor, but always having this dramatic bent, having studied at Juilliard. How does that affect his life later on when he goes for the Oscars, wins these things with Good Will Hunting? How his whole career changed as he kept evolving, and how he handled the losses and the successes. I would love to see that until obviously his untimely end. That would be fantastic as well.
I'd also like to point out that John Rocha is eligible to have a stand-up documentary made about him, as he's done a number of performances.
Sure.
And maybe there's a spot open at Los Globos on October 26th.
5 minutes
Maybe
from
there's a spot.
obscurity. That would be the name of my stand-up.
Selling out arenas all across the world. That is John Rocha, and over there is Perri Nemiroff. Thank you guys for joining us here on Collider Movie Talk. Perri, have fun tonight.
Thank
seeing
you.
the movie that's going to make less than $30 million opening weekend. We will be back 4 p.m. normal time tomorrow for another episode of Collider Movie Talk. Maybe we talk about Carlin. Hey everybody, Mark Ellis here. Thanks for watching this episode of Collider Movie Talk. You want to watch more? Then click up here, or you can click right here for more great content from Collider. And if you haven't subscribed to Collider Video, do so right now and share this vid with your friends. Thanks for watching.